For the majority of the collage part of this project, you will use scissors, and we're going to glue it down with Elmer's Extra Strength glue stick. You're also going to need interesting images you find from the magazines I provide for you. When you're cutting out an item from the magazine, you want to remove it completely from the background. Kind of imagine that you are tracing the item with your scissors cut. A good way to use scissors effectively is to use one hand as your cutting hand and the other, like my left hand in this video, as the steering hand. So if you kind of notice as I am cutting it out, the scissors stay kind of relatively straight, and I'm twisting the paper around so that I can cut out that item completely from the background. It is important to use excellent craftsmanship in this part because the better that you cut out, the more realistic and believable that item will look in the room that you drew. If you don't take the time and care to cut out your item completely from the background, then what your drawing is going to look like is a room with a bunch of stickers on top of it that have some sort of border around them. Once you've got your item cut out, you're going to grab a scrap piece of paper, just the printer paper that I provided for you, flip your item over to the back, and you're going to add a nice layer of glue all over the back side of that image. This is art class, so yes, you are allowed to use a lot of glue. Really cover it so that it sticks down very nicely. I like to use the back of my glue stick as a device for flattening that image into the paper where I want to glue it down to. It helps it to be nice and even. And then I always go back and check all of those little edges to see if they're actually glued down nice, to make sure that I don't need to add any more glue. Now, if you are somebody that wants to cut out the window, I will show you how to do that now. I'm going to have a group of 5 people at a time borrow a cutting mat and an X-Acto knife. That cutting mat goes under the window that you want to cut out, and we are using these X-Acto knives very carefully. You're going to use them very mindfully. You always place the blade down and push the blade like away from you and away from any of your fingers. You want to make sure your other hand is out of the direction of the blade as you are working with it. I like to pull it towards me nice and slow and smooth to make sure I make a nice, even, and clean cut. Whenever I hold my X-Acto knife, I kind of hold it like a pencil, and you're making sure that your blade is blade side down, that little shiny part, that it's down towards what you want to cut, the pointy end. And again, just making sure that you're being very, very careful, you're going slow, and you're keeping your other hand out of the direction of the blade as you are using it. Once you've got that cut out, it's time to pick the image that you want to go behind that window. It's important that the picture is bigger than the window. What I also like to do is grab a pencil, and I'm going to mark the top, bottom, and left and right side of the window. Not a really big mark, just a little one so that I can know where that window is. And then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to trim down how big that paper is, just to slightly bigger than the window. It's important that you cut out your window picture bigger than the actual size of the window, not exactly to the size, because you want to have space left over to glue it down to the paper too. All right, so I'm going to flip that paper over, grab a scrap piece of paper and my glue, and I'm going to put a really generous amount of glue all around the window's edges. I am even going to add some to the edges of the picture that I want to glue down, just to make sure that those papers are stuck down really nice and evenly. Then I can place that right on top. And again, use the back of my glue stick as a pressing device to make sure that's glued down nice and smooth. Now, as you are working today, please keep in mind that you are required to have 10 items cut out from a magazine or book added to your room drawing. At first, 10 items seems like a lot, but I promise you it really is not. And yes, the windows do count as an item cut out. For example, here is my example with only 10 items. I thought it needed a little bit more. So here is my example with 12 items. I think I could even add more to this to make it more interesting. So don't be afraid to go beyond just the requirements of the project. Be creative and have fun.